Hello, my name is LaTina Jones, and I am speaking on suspensions and expulsions in high school, and it's time to make a change. My first experience. Well, I grew up in a kind of a tough neighborhood, where a lot of times you would have to fight to kind of protect yourself. I remember getting in a fight with someone at my school and getting 3 days suspension. That was policy. Both parties would receive a 3 day suspension, and upon returning to school. Well, I remember coming back from the 3 day suspension and it just being really hard on me, with the snickering and laughing of the students, from trying to catch up with where I left off in my schoolwork, dealing with the fact that my parents were not very happy with me at the time with my behavior. It was just very hard. I think that the hardest part was probably the fact that when I came back to school, the fact that there had been so much that had been going on while I was gone, that it was very difficult for me to catch up, even with leaving in 3 days. Leaving for 3 days, I'm sorry. It was definitely difficult for the teacher to try to, get me back on track with the rest of the class and try to make sure that I was good. It was a lot, and it was very noticeable. And for that reason, it was noticeable to me as a student that it was an extra burden on her. It ended up taking a whole emotional toll on me. It definitely made me think twice about ever, fighting again, I'm sorry. But it definitely took a huge toll on me. Now, I remember we had to interview. Now, I interviewed 3 people. I interviewed a student, I interviewed a teacher, and then I interviewed a parent. And one of the parents made a statement to me that just stuck out to me, that said that we cannot really judge what is right and what is wrong, because what may be morally wrong to you may not be to someone else. And that just kind of stuck out to me, to kind of make it known that this should be a case-by-case scenario. There shouldn't be any rules set in stone, because no one knows the background of a child. No one knows what a child has been through. I think that it should be done by a case-by-case scenario. There has been, they have made allowances for disabled persons, where I also feel like that there are people who are mentally disabled that needs to be taken into consideration too as well, which is definitely difficult to try to, point out which people are mentally disabled and which people aren't, and going ahead by that standard. But I think that it should be, done by a case-by-case scenario. There's so many ways that we can prevent the emotional toll and the emotional effect that suspensions and expulsions have on children. And with talking to these interviewees, it allowed me to see exactly what I would need to do to, to give hope to children and teachers and the faculty to know that there may be a possibility of change. And there could be a possibility of change, and that there is a need for it. When I went over talking about expulsions, after I got done researching suspensions, I went to talk about expulsions. Now, I was very shocked by my findings. They stated that you would have to be out of school for 120 days, which is about 4 months. Which is a little bit more than 4 months, because they only count school days. So it's about 5.5 months that you have to be out of school before your hearing is approved to be reinstated in school. Now, when I read that, I was appalled. I thought that was ridiculous. At the end of the day, these children need education, and taking them out of school for months at a time is not helping them in any way possible. And to me, I felt like that's definitely a policy that needs to be changed. And we definitely need to move forward with changing that immediately, because that can have a full longing effect on our children from missing school. Attendance is one of the most important things when it comes to an education, and I think that this suspension and expulsion policies have not provided that same information. So I was researching the suspension and expulsion policy for the state of Michigan, and it stated that it was revised again from like the early 1900s. It was revised again in 1985. Now it hasn't been really looked at or touched since then. Meanwhile, there's hundreds of children getting suspended and expelled on a daily basis. That's something that I think needs to be updated because there's other things that weren't going on in 1985 that are going on now in 2020. So there's Facebook and Instagram threats amongst our students. I think that needs to be looked at. It needs to be taken care of. I've heard of plenty of suicides that have happened from high school students due to the fact that they have been bullied online. When I looked at the policy for the state of Michigan, there isn't one section about bullying, cyberbullying, or anything like that. I didn't expect it because, of course, it was made in 1985. So I just think that revising that policy to make it more current, to make it more relevant to our students now is probably the best bet. And it will be able to allow us to hit every point in every situation that may occur. So I did want to speak on a friend of mine that I had. I won't say his name, but this is a friend that I had that I played high school. We used to play recreational basketball together. He was a honor student like myself. He was a great kid. The only thing that the only thing that I would say that kind of stopped him from being who he was what he had to deal with at home. I remember one particular day he came to school with a black eye. We were all wondering, like, who did you get in a fight with? He never wanted to say who he got in a fight with. Well, once we found out it was his dad, his dad had physically abused him, and he came to school the next day. When he came to school the next day, he proceeded to fight someone else, which caused him to get a 10-day suspension because of the severity of what he did to the other student. Because of that 10-day suspension, he was out of school for 10 days. He began to continue to get abused, and eventually he dropped out. He had such a bright future ahead of him. He was a 4.0 student. He just had a bad day with his family. And because he had a bad day with his family, the place that he went for comfort and the place that he went, for confidence and to make him feel better about himself, told him that he could not come back for 10 days. I think that one thing that is very important to me, I think that right now, I think there needs to be a change. Not only does there need to be a change, there are some things that I will propose. So I will propose that in every suspension and expulsion situation, that there be a social worker present. I think that the presence of a social worker will allow our students to be able to express how they feel, for them to talk about the incident that occurred, for them to even talk about what may occur once they get home. It would just be safer for our children, and I believe that it would help our children become better students. And I think that I'm so excited because I think that this is something that needs to happen very soon. I think that being able to talk to those interviewees and getting those questions answered definitely helped me a lot. And I'm definitely excited, and thank you very much.